Hey my good friend, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're looking at the 2017 Ford Focus RS. Now this is a car I admit I have been really looking forward to test driving because a lot of my friends have and they say a lot of great things about it. Lots of fun, 350 horsepower with all-wheel drive. How could it not be? But I also want to find out what it's like to live with. All right, my friends, before we get out on the test drive, we're going to talk about styling just a little bit because this is a very unique Ford Focus. You can tell just by looking at it. First of all, this color, nitrous blue, $995 option. Woof, it's a lot of money, but it's a nice color. It's got a little bit of pearl in it. One of the reasons it's expensive is because it's actually a 4-coat system, which really looks great when the sun hits it in different angles, but I guess if you ever scratch it and you need to touch it up, it might not be such an easy thing. Aside that, unique front fascia down here, a very low chin splitter, big opening for its big intercooler. All that horsepower needs cooling. RS logo there on the front. Premium headlights up here with a blacked out surround, which kind of means it up just a little bit. And here we also have the optional 19-inch wheel. Through them you can see those big Brembo brakes, which are blue. Now they're blue on all of these. It just happens that they match this exterior color very well, both front and rear. I love that. And of course also an optional tire here, the Michelin Sport Cup 2. Very, very sticky tire, which we'll also get to here in just a couple of minutes. As you look down the side here, this also has a nice unique rocker down there between the front and rear wheels, and that helps transition into where we are here. The rear fascia back here has the typical diffuser style lower fascia, and it has dual exhaust, but these are nice big dual exhaust pipes, very similar to what we've seen on the Mustangs. They're not big shaped weird things, they're just round exhaust, pretty simple. And this exhaust actually makes a pretty good sound. We'll get to that here in a few. Also, trademark here is the big wing. Now I love this wing. I like the wing on the Subaru WRX STI, and I like this one too. This one's obviously a little bit more subtle, but this is a 5-door hatch, so it couldn't be quite as big and crazy as that one is that's on the sedan. The interior of the RS is also quite different than any other Ford Focus you're going to find, and it starts with these Recaro seats. Now these are standard equipment. They're trimmed up nicely too. Leather, you've got a nice suede here, blue stitching, RS logos, Recaro logos, the whole 9 yards, and they're very aggressive in terms of how they hold you. Now the one thing I will point out is the front of these is not adjustable height-wise, so you can raise these up and you can lower the seats, but that front doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So if you're a person that has problems with a seat being too high here and working with the pedals, that's something you really need to look at when you're looking at this car, because that is one thing. There is a lack of adjustment range on these seats. I like them though. I do find them very comfortable in this car. The first day I got in here, I was kind of like, oh God, these hurt. It's like it trained my back after a day or two, and I've just loved them. The rest of the interior here, also some unique touches. We've got blue stitching on the steering wheel, a nice flat bottom steering wheel with the RS logo in it. Up here on the top of the dash, you've got a gauge cluster up there that has a few extra gauges that you're not going to find in the standard one, including that turbo boost gauge. Very important thing if you have a turbo, especially one that's got a lot of boost going on. Over here on the door panels, you've also got some premium trim here with the blue stitching. The fit and finish in here is just very good. Everything's nice and tight. Not a lot of big gaps or warp pieces like I've seen in some other vehicles. So the material quality in here and the fit and finish to me feels a little bit elevated here. Now when it comes to storage, there isn't actually very much here. There's big pockets here in the doors, but if you have a phone, there's not really any good place to put it. This spot down here is a little bit smallish, at least for my phone, and it's also hard to get it around the shifter. Down here in the center console, there's a space down there. It's also a pretty small space. There's cup holders here in the center, and their location is fine because it sits down low enough that cups aren't going to be interfering with your shifting action. The back seat is pretty small because this is a compact vehicle, but believe it or not, I'm actually not nearly as uncomfortable as I thought I might be. These seats are about halfway forward, halfway back, set for my height, 5'9". I do have enough leg room, though if somebody did start sliding the seat back, they would be up against my knees. Headroom, pretty decent here, and Even though this is a compact hatch, the seating position isn't too low. This is actually better than I find it in some of the SUVs out there. The seat, of course, is pretty firm. Not a lot of side bolstering back here, especially compared to those front seats. Also lacking back here, there are no rear HVAC vents, but there is a little storage space down there in the back of that console. And down here next to these seats on the floor, there's a little tray down there that you can also put some things in. Now behind me, pretty nice, good cargo area back there, and these seats do fold down in a 60-40 split. Underneath the cargo floor, you're not going to find a spare tire. Not a lot of high-performance cars like this have them. What you're going to find there is an emergency inflator and, of course, the hardware for that Sony audio system. I really do love what they've done with this interior. I like the trims in here, the extra added upgrades, and these seats. I just love them. I love them a lot. I know not everyone's going to like these seats, but they're working for me pretty good. The interior gets 4 out of 5 stars. On the topic of infotainment, this has the Sync 3 audio navigation system with a Sony audio backend. It doesn't have a lot of hard controls here on the front, but the knob that it does have right here on the center does seem to work pretty good for most of your everyday things. I found it very easy to use, and Sync 3, of course, has awesome graphics. I've liked it in every vehicle I've tested from Ford. They really did a good job creating this new infotainment system. The audio is also very good, the quality here. There's a subwoofer in the back, and it just really sounds good. Infotainment gets 5 out of 5 stars. What's under the hood here is a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged, direct fuel injection, 350 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. That's more than the Mustang because it does have a few small differences from that engine that's in the Mustang, that being one, larger turbocharger compressor, it's got a bigger intercooler and a different air intake system, and of course it's configured for transverse mounting. The EPA rates it here at 19 mpg city, 25 mpg highway, and 22 mpg combined. Drives all 4 wheels through exclusively a 6-speed manual transmission. If you need an automatic, you can't have this car. So the first question always is, how does it go? Woo! Did you hear that? Little rap crackle going on back there in the exhaust when you're shifting. I love that. Nice little growler this thing is. Sounds mean, and it feels it too. This thing has gobs of power, and I am already way exceeding the speed limit out here. So easily done. 350 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque, hardly no turbo lag. It's just very linear. The torque just pushes you right down into your seat. And I'm just not even getting anywhere close to how much power this has out here. It's got a wonderful sound, it's got a wonderful feel, and the shifter, nice and precise. I love rowing through the gears with this thing. It never hangs up. It's got a nice precise feel to it, and it just really does work well, I think. Now, the one thing I will say is, because this car really invites you to use that power a lot, it's thirsty. 22 mpg is what it says. I've been getting about 19 this week, and that of course is because I've been driving it quite vigorously. So powertrain gets 5 out of 5 stars. Now, handling. That's a big question for this car. Why? Because it's got a lot of power in a front-wheel drive based car. That's always going to be the question mark when you get handed one of these things. Well, the good news is they've really done a good job at handling that issue. So we have all-wheel drive. Everybody knows that. It can send up to 70% of the torque to the rear axle. And it can send torque to the outside wheels when you're cornering and then accelerating out of a corner. So what that does for you is give you a car that not only sticks and goes, but there's virtually little torque steer. In fact, I am hard pressed to even detect torque steer going on here. And that is a wonderful blessing, because there's nothing less fun than a car with torque steer when you have all kinds of power like this. And this is just wonderful. Now, it's a very stiff suspension, and of course it's adjustable, tied to your drive modes, the dampers that is. So it's pretty stiff, no matter what mode you're in. Even if you're on normal, it's a very stiff suspension. Steering is nice and tight, and there's no kickback in the steering either. Like when I go over bumps and ruts and things here in the road, it's not pulling on me here. So it's very well sorted in terms of refinement. It's very well sorted in terms of balance. You can really just throw this car into a corner, power on or power off, and it just sticks, and it feels predictable. It feels like it's just going to do whatever you ask it. So I'm very impressed with this chassis. Chassis gets 5 out of 5 stars. On the measure of quality, I do think there's a payoff for the fact that this car does come from the German plant. And I don't mean to sound like I'm beating on our North American plants, but this car does appear, and it feels like it's better put together than the Focuses that I've seen from our American plant. And that goes to paint finish, that goes to the body panel fit and alignment, that goes to the interior, which feels solid. Now, I will point out that over the rough pavement, very stiffly sprung car, I did get some interior rattling, a little bit of shuddering in the overall chassis, and that does go to the fact that this is a very stiffly sprung car. So quality comes in at 4 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, let's wrap up the love fest, because that's what this is. I admit it. I fell in love with this car. I lost all my objectivity because it just makes me smile. It's a nice, solid car that I would totally spend my own money on, which is why it goes on the I'd buy list for 2017. I really do think it's that good. In fact, I've actually already bought one, a little bit easier on my budget. Same exact color too, and I love the color, even though it is kind of pricey. But here, we're at $42,000 and some change for this one. Got a few options on it, but I do think that's a good value because it's a solid car, it's fun to drive, quality's there. Now the Recaros, not everybody's going to be able to live with those things. Make sure you sit in them before you buy one and take it home. But I would totally take this home at this price. 5 stars for value. When you put this in, with everything we've already talked about, we're 4.5 stars for the review. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed the test drive, because I sure did, and well, I'm in love with this car. I really, really like it, obviously. It's one of the first Fords in a very long time that I've actually gotten quite smitten with, to the point where I would unquestionably buy it, even knowing that it's probably going to be, well, not the best car to have around every single day, but I just love it. I love it. Anyway, if you like the test drive you just saw, click on the big round logo right there and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or click on the big square and see another one of our test drives. Either way, stay tuned.